Welcome back for another episode. Today I had the absolute pleasure to catch up with a couple of very important youth allies from Hay. So while I was in Hay, the 2 times I've been down there, there's been an amazing initiative called the Hay Youth Taskforce. This Youth Taskforce does a range of activities to really include young people and also to help the wider community. A couple of the older members of this group, Emma Johnston and Katie Howard, had a chat with me today about what the task force does and also how they helped the Rainbow on the Plains Festival and the attitudes towards the LGBTQIA+ community from a young person's perspective in Hay. This is a great chat, and they are 2 examples of the group that has some amazing young people doing some awesome work within their community. I'm your host, Mr. Gay Pride Australia 2022, and as we like to say, the 3rd gayest person in the world, Dion Alexander, and you are listening to Our Pride by Mr. Gay Pride Australia. And I've got a couple of very special guests today on Our Pride by Mr. Gay Pride Australia. I have Emma and Katie from the Hay Youth Taskforce. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the Youth Taskforce does? And maybe I'll get to Emma, maybe if you want to start with, what does the Youth Taskforce do in Hay?
Well, our Youth Taskforce, our goals are to kind of achieve little things to help youth in town, whether that's holding little events or getting people to achieve their license, spreading awareness. Our goals is just trying to push youth in our small community.
Awesome. And I know that you do sort of like a number of events. What style and what sort of events do you do?
So we do a pretty broad range. We've done the Rainbow on the Plains, we've done cultures, and we're doing careers combos, food for thought, kind of just covering all general bases.
Awesome. I love the Youth Task Force because it's not something that I know of in any of the sort of communities that I've been involved with. And I've been in sort of bigger cities as well, but I just think the concept's really amazing. So Katie, I might start with you on this one, but why did you get involved with the Youth Task Force?
To start with, I didn't really know much about it. Some of my friends like Emma and Carrie Ann that used to be on the Youth Task Force told me to come along. And then I went along for one session. I didn't think it was my thing. I didn't think it was like my group of people. And then I went along and met Kylie and everyone there, and I kind of just fell in love with it. So I've stuck by it, and I continue to until I leave.
Awesome. Now you've mentioned Kylie. Who is Kylie for those that don't know?
Kylie is the person that runs Youth in Hay. I don't know her official name, her title, but she organises and she funds for youth to happen around Hay. So
Yeah,
she's
awesome.
A very important person.
Yeah, she is for your Youth Task Force, and I believe she's the one that puts in the funding applications and helps all that sort of stuff as well. And she's a very passionate person, so it's probably why I wanted to highlight her there. Emma, why, obviously you got involved before Katie in the Youth Task Force. Why did you get involved with it?
I've been a member since the very beginning of the Youth Task Force. So when Kylie came up with the idea to have a task force, and my reasoning behind it was to make a difference. I knew the struggles that Hay had. And at first, on my own, I didn't know how to fix it. And then when Kylie came up with the idea of having a group, a task force to do so, I loved it. I thought that we were really going to make a difference, and I really wanted to be a part.
Awesome. And I can definitely see the difference that you're making in the community when I go down there, which is awesome. I'll shoot to whoever wants to answer this one, but you'll probably get one out of each of you. What is, if you think back on the last year, what are some of the great work that you've done in the community in Hay?
Em, do you want to go first?
I'd say our biggest work that we've done would, as a generally summed up, is have more youth attending events. So like when we had the Australia Day, we had quite a few people get out and about and come to our events. The very beginning of our task force, it was hard to draw people in. People know who we are now. So when we hold events now, we have lots of youth show up, and that's quite a common thing now. It's our biggest drawn upon.
Awesome. What sort of stands out for you, Katie?
Probably the same as M. I guess probably Rainbow on the Plains is a big one for us, especially this year. We all came together as a group. We had a little disco, and we kind of all bonded together, which was really nice. Probably the retreats that we go on. We all went on a retreat. Well, I didn't personally, but M and the group did, to Billabong Ranch in Echuca, I think. And again, like, the connection that everyone's made with each other is like life-changing. So yeah, probably just connecting with the members over the past year has been great.
Awesome. Emma, I just want to touch on, you said in the sort of early stages, and you've been there since the start, that there wasn't that many people that attended the events, and now you're seeing a lot more people attend, which is fabulous and is always encouraging. Was it difficult to keep putting on events in that early stage because the attendance may have not have been what you were after?
For some events, it definitely was. And we've learnt that sometimes bigger and better is harder and unachievable and puts a lot of stress on the youth task force. And we did at the beginning hold a few smaller activities and events, so that helped as well.
Awesome.
And now that we're able to hold bigger and better events and know that we're going to have someone show up, we're going to have a group of people to be able to support us.
Awesome. That's fabulous. Now, I wanted to get into, Katie, you obviously mentioned about the Youth Task Force involvement in the Rainbow on the Plains Festival, and something I want to spend a little bit of time on here. Obviously, like, I've been to the Rainbow on the Plains Festival and Hay twice now, and I think it's absolutely amazing. But I was very much moved by the amount of work that the Youth Task Force does at the Rainbow at the Plains Festival. And thought that it was fantastic that the work that you are doing. Can you sort of talk me through what activities the Youth Task Force organises for the Rainbow on the Plains Festival?
Yeah. So it starts obviously on a Thursday, and we don't really do much on a Thursday. We all come together on the Friday afternoon. And Kylie's like, okay, we've got some jobs that need to be done. And then she will go through them, and then we'll just put our hands up to be like, yep, we're happy to take on this role and do that. Personally, this year, I took on a few roles. I did the tickets at the gates on Friday night and Saturday night. And then on Saturday, obviously, we had our own parade. Like, we had our parade, so we had our own float. But we didn't have a float. We made an aeroplane, which Emma painted. So that would have took a little while. So good on her for doing that, the Youth Task Force. And then we came over to the park, and we had a chill out zone where, anyone could come over and just relax if they just wanted to sit down for a little while and just, have a look at social media or something that they're interested in, or have a read of their book. And then later on that night, we had 2 discos for juniors and then for high schoolers, which took a lot of effort because we had to set up that morning. So we're pretty busy. I think we arrived at the park at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, just to set up and get ready. So yeah, we do have a big involvement in over the weekend. It's a massive weekend, and by the end of it, we're very tired. There's a few of us that play on the Sunday for the Pride Cup round, which is amazing. But by the end of it, we're just buggered, ready for a nap after the game. But yeah, we are involved in it quite a lot. And wouldn't have it any other way because it's a very good setup they organise. So yeah.
That's fabulous, and a very well deserved nap by the end of it. That's for sure. Because there's a lot that goes into it, and I love sort of the the family friendly aspect of it, and that like no one misses out as well. So yes, there's the big after party after fair day, and the sort of over 18s party. But for the youth task force to then organise the disco party for the under 18s, I think is great, and make sure that no one misses out on anything that's happening. And
it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Like, it's absolutely amazing.
So that's great. I want to pick up there from what Katie said, Emma, just about your float this year in the Rainbow and the Plains Festival. Obviously now she's stuck you in it, and you're responsible for painting a majority of the plane, which I loved. Where did the concept come for the plane?
So I had actually taken a bit of a break from the Youth Task Force during HSC, and so I'm not sure where the idea of the plane came from, but when I showed up, we had this beautiful, they built it from, I believe, was like long wood sticks and paper. It was all put together, and we needed it to be colourful for our event. And I know everyone was very keen to dress up as the directors of flights. So I kind of put together our rainbow, and then we're now called the Force.
Yep.
So I went with that theme, and I mean, I got a bit messy, so our plane ended up being splatters of colour, which was great.
Fabulous. That's what it should be in one of those parades, though, right? Like, it's a splatter of colour everywhere. It's fabulous. How many of the Youth Task Force got involved in the parade, and then sort of in the greater Rainbow and the Plains Festival and all those sort of activities?
I believe everyone gets around it, whether that's, some people are drawn to different events as well. I'm pretty sure that every single task force member marched, and it was amazing. There were so many of us, and we're all dressed up. Honestly, for me, seeing that, I was like blown away a bit. But throughout the fair day, everyone kind of picked up something to do for a bit, and everyone got involved.
No, that is awesome. And Emma, I love that you have just mentioned that every single member of the Youth Task Force picked something up and did something during the fair day, and then across the festival. Katie, I might put this one to you. From my perspective as an outsider, it always seems like all of the members of the Youth Task Force are excited to get involved with the Rainbow and the Plains Festival. What is it, or what sort of the attitudes towards the festival that people just want to help, and particularly the Youth Task Force members, they want to get involved?
Personally, for myself, I think that it's something different, especially because we don't have something like this out in Hay that often. So it's exciting. You get to meet new people, and I guess that's why people join, I guess, and want to be a part of it, is because you get to meet new people. Obviously it's different, it's exciting, get to have a lot of fun, and I guess they advertise that too. Yep. Like, come out, it's going to be a great weekend, great activities, and I guess like people just want to socialize. They just want to get around each other, support each other, and I guess that's something that our community holds quite a lot.
Yep.
I don't know, we're very community minded like people, I guess. Like, we just love getting around each other, being a part of stuff together. Yeah, so I think for everyone, I think it's just something different. It's exciting, you get to socialize. So yeah, I think that's why everyone likes to come out and give it a crack.
Awesome. Yeah, and I love that about the Hay community particularly. I think that I said it 2022, so that was last year. I'm confusing myself here because I've just come back what year is it? But so 2022, so last year, not the last time I went, but last year, so 2 trips ago. I really got a sense that like no one wanted to leave anyone behind in the community, and that was fabulous. Obviously I have lived in Adelaide, and that's where I was raised, but moved over to Sydney, and we just don't have that same level of sense of community and support from a holistic sense. So I think you find pockets of it in Sydney with certain groups that you might join, but from a community standpoint, and from an area and a suburb or a town like Hay, that just doesn't exist in Sydney. So I think it's something that's fabulous, and really makes people feel like they belong and they're welcome in the community. And I think that's important, not just for straight people, but also it's very, very important for people that are in the LGBTQIA+ community, which I think is great.
Definitely.
Emma, how do you feel like the Youth Taskforce involvement in the Rainbow on the Plains Festival? I'm getting my words mixed up on we're recording on a Wednesday afternoon. How do you feel, like, is it important that the task force is involved in the Rainbow on the Plains Festival? And do you think that helps promote inclusion in Hay?
I believe that it's very important that the Youth Task Force is involved, considering we are the next generation that is going to be changing how we view each other, how we interact with each other. So to have us an event so big as the Rainbow on the Plains, I think that's important. So then we have a wide range we have some younger and older generations there that are all coming together and kind of bringing everything. And we're all growing as a group, as one. So I think that having the Youth Task Force kind of helps with, brings more awareness, and also encourages everyone that comes after us, can see us enjoying it, us growing, us learning. So they have someone to look up to as well, especially for our younger people. Yeah.
And I love sort of what you've touched on there too about learning. And it was something that I took away from this year's festival, which I absolutely loved. And I think Will, who's the president of Hay Mardi Gras, Will Miller, he said it at the ACON event on the Friday night. There's a bit of a launch party there, and was just like, we want to learn. And I just thought that was really nice coming from obviously a key member of the LGBTQIA+ community in Hay, that he was saying, hey, like, I've still got a lot to learn, our board's still got a lot to learn about the rest of the community, and the rest of our sort of rainbow community. We're not going to be perfect, but we're here to learn. And I really love that, because I think of myself as well, and you get given this Mr. Gay Pride Australia title, and everyone thinks that you're going to know absolutely everything about everything in the queer community, and it's just not the case. So I really loved that this year's festival there was the different flags, and there was the explanations of the flags and what that meant, and I think that was just quite beautiful. And like, we, from our Mr. Gay Pride Australia contingent, we learnt things when we were at the festival this year as well. So I think it just goes to show that you can always learn something and should be open-minded. And we need to give everyone a little bit of a break to around this sort of stuff, that not everyone's going to know everything. You'll know certain things, but I think, we just need to bring people along for the journey, and not shout at people, and just help them understand, which I really like. Katie, from a young person's perspective, living in Hay, how do you feel like the attitudes are towards the LGBTQI+ community, and particularly, like, how do you think that the Rainbow on the Plains Festival is potentially influencing those attitudes?
To be honest with you, I think everyone has their own perception. But I reckon most of our town is very willing to learn about LGBTQ+. I know I am. I think most of the town is very supportive of that. And I think personally, Rainbow on the Plains, I feel like it gives everyone a good understanding. Like, as you said, like, you know, not everyone knows everything about it. So I guess having that event gets to shows people that, you know, there's more to LGBTQ plus than just like, you know, what's the word?
I think sometimes we get very focused in on like gay people and then presenting in a particular way, and then like lesbians like presenting in a particular way. And I think I said this on a sort of an interview I did recently. It's like, it's nice to have a wide variety of people represented in our community, so that, you know, people's perception of a gay person is usually this, you know, screaming queen that's telling quite effeminate, flamboyant person. So I think, you know, that was something that was made mention when the whole contingent of Mr. Gay Pride Australia went in 2022, that, you know, it was great that we had 7 very diverse and different individuals that were there representing what a gay man is.
And I think that's great. Like, that is absolutely great. Like, and I guess, like, you know, having the drag queens come down to Hay, like, it just gets people, like, because we come from a small country town, like, a lot of people don't realise that, you know, there's more to LGBTQ plus than just, you know, your regular, you know, gay guy or your lesbian. So yeah, I think it's great, and I think, like, it influences people's perception quite a lot. You know, so yeah, definitely think it has a good impact on our small community.
Awesome. Emma, one of the events that we have touched on, and I believe both of you are involved in it, is the Pride Cup that happens on the Sunday. I just think it's amazing that there's a netball team that then goes and plays an AFL game. And then not only do you play an AFL game, but this year one of the players on the other team plays like AFLW for the Richmond Tigers or something like that, I think. So we're not talking about just like you just having a you know, a social Sunday game. Like, there's some serious players that you're playing up against. How and why does, like, I just think it's amazing that you've got this group of netballers that don't play AFL all the time that are going to put themselves out there for this festival. Why do so many of you do it?
That's a great question.
Yeah. I believe that, well, we really wanted to be inclusive, and for a lot of us that play netball, it is that growing up wanted to play AFL. So a lot of us played. So you can only play as a female up to under 14s, and you can't go above. So we don't carry AFL. So lots of girls move to netball. So when they have the opportunity to get rough and get dirty on the field, most people do want to take that up, and it is for a laugh. And especially you've had a long night after you're partying, and it's just kind of like you rock up and you're like, you do you, and it ends up everyone has a blast. And especially after the first year, lots of people saw it, and to see other females, you know, challenging themselves, playing sport they don't really play that often, brings everyone up. Like, we had so many more younger girls this year, and I thought that was amazing. I think it's just getting around each other. It's really what brings people to the field.
Yeah, and like, fabulous. And Tony and I, so Tony, for the punters out there, is one of the co-producers of Mr. Gay Pride Australia. We're up on the hill and we were commentating on the day. So, you know, we want to do a live stream next year of the game.
I did hear you guys. You were very loud up on the hill.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, like, your team normally plays netball. They could have been, you know, I think there's a few more free kicks that should have gone, you know, the Hay Lions ways, that's for sure. But
I agree.
Yeah. Great concept. And I, obviously Rainbow on the Plains Festival always have a bit of a special place in my heart, but I think that what goes on during the festival is amazing, and for the netball players to get out there and do something that they don't normally do, all for inclusion and just keeping sort of that spirit and that party going, and having something else for us to look forward to on that weekend is phenomenal. The work that you all do in the Youth Taskforce just absolutely blows my mind, that there's such young people leading the charge in Hay, and are willing to put their hand up, and even if it's menial tasks of being on the door and selling tickets to some of these events, that if you weren't doing that, then the event wouldn't be getting organized. So it's the small things at the end of the day, as well as the larger things that you do, and the entertainment that you provide, not at the fair day, but also then the disco, that just make the event run and make it such a success. So I think it's an absolute testament to all of you that as such young people, you're putting your hand up and making sure that everyone in your community feels included and welcomed, and you're doing such a good job. So from an outsider, well done, and just keep continuing what you're doing.
Thank you.
No problems.
Yeah.
It's been my absolute pleasure chatting to you both today. I am very hopeful that we can get down to Hay for a third year in a row for the Rainbow on the Plains Festival. I know it's something that we mark on our calendar with the Mr. Gay Pride Australia crew. So I would very much love that. But thank you, Katie and Emma, for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting us. It's been great.
No problem.
Yeah, it was amazing to have a chat.
And great to spread the good work that you're doing. So keep it up, and we will chat very soon. And for everyone listening, we will see you next time on the podcast. What great work Emma, Katie, and the rest of the Youth Taskforce are doing in Hay. And it's so refreshing to hear that such young people are taking a great action in their community and providing a safe space. When I'm listening to them speak, I'm just reminded of how important allyship is, and how it's really driven that festival in Hay, but in wider areas of our community. Allies are super important to all the work that we're doing. We can't do it alone, and I thank the Youth Taskforce, and particularly Emma and Katie, for giving up their time today to talk to me about all the initiatives they are doing and everything they've had to do with the Rainbow on the Plains Festival and making Hay a safe and inclusive community. This whole episode is driven by allyship. So if you know someone that needs a little gentle nudge or is looking for some ideas on how they can help support the LGBTQIA+ community, please send them this episode. As always, you do us a massive favor. Please 5-star rating and review in your podcast player. It would help us get to more ears and really help spread the message. We are trying to create a safe and inclusive environment, and we are trying to tell as many diverse stories as possible. Thank you for joining me. You've been listening to Our Pride by Mr. Gay Pride Australia.